with 14 questions and an extra credit question.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You have Esther? Would you like Esther?
Pretty sure.
Would you like Esther? Okay. What, yeah. Which one?
Okay. We've got one left. What do you know about Esther?
Another name?
Hadassah was her Hebrew name. Yes, that's a good catch. Esther is a book that is in the middle of our Old Testament, but many people think that it was the last book of the Old Testament to be written. So it takes place not in the land of Israel, but in the land of Persia, which was the empire that succeeded the Babylonian Empire. So we get a view of some of the Jewish people that did not return to the promised land during the waves of return that took place. We looked at Ezra and Nehemiah about what was going on in the land of Israel. And now we get a little view of what was going on back in the land of Persia. We'll see more of that. I'm sorry?
Esther takes place before Ezra and Nehemiah.
Okay, yeah. So this is some events that, as far as we know, took place while some of those exiles were returning. But this is a view of some of them that stayed in the headquarters of the Persian Empire. It is unique in the scripture, and maybe you've heard of this. What makes Esther unique?
God is never mentioned.
The name of God is not mentioned in the entire book as we have it in our Old Testament, which is translated from the Hebrew text. Now, when they translated the Hebrew into Greek, the Septuagint version, they added some verses because evidently they were not satisfied with the fact that it did not include the name of God. So if you read the Septuagint version, which is the Greek translation, you'll find 107 additional verses that were added that talk about God. Some of those are very interesting. And in fact, I brought a translation of the what's called the Rest of Esther, which I thought we'd just take a look at as we go along and see what some people thought might have happened. But the version that we have in our Bibles is the accepted version as being the inspired version. What is the purpose of the book of Esther in our scriptures?
You show the faithfulness of God.
Okay.
That's what I get most.
The faithfulness of God in watching over his people. He is still working with the Israelites. For what purpose? To bring the Messiah into the world. And so this is one evidence of that concern.
I think it also shows the importance of one person's faithful act
Okay.
that made a real difference in the lives of a lot of people.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it shows us that we can have an impact now. Esther, in a sense, had an impact on the world, and we can have an impact on other people as well as she did.
Mordecai is really the moving force, isn't he? I mean, the coach, the mentor for her. I mean, he really is fantastic.
Mordecai.
He's wonderful, yeah, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
Esther is a book. We don't know who wrote it. The speculation over the centuries has been maybe Mordecai wrote it, but we don't have really any evidence to suggest that. I read an interesting commentary the other day in looking at the book of Esther. And, it is speculating, why isn't the name of God mentioned? Most of the books that we have studied have included prayers to God, praises to God. And, why wouldn't that be the case in the book of Esther? I don't know the answer. I'm just gonna, maybe you know the
It
answer.
seemed like it didn't need it. I mean, who else would they be waiting on to help them? Because even they weren't talking about prayer, either they're talking about fasting.
Okay,
What was the point of that? The fasting? To me, that would imply a point of worship or something. But that's why I always thought it was just implying.
there's a lot of implying that this is God taking care of his people. Because it says, Esther, Mordecai says, maybe you've been put there for a purpose. And that's a question that we all can ask ourselves. Are we put where we are for a purpose? And what is that purpose in the mind and the wisdom of God? But this commentator suggested maybe the name of God is not mentioned in a sense because that's the way that God works. God works, and maybe you can look back in your life and see where God has worked and God has put you in a place, or God has brought about circumstances in your life where the people that you related to or the events that you experienced led to some good for you or for some other people. But when you think about that, you can say, I recognize the hand of God there, and I'm going to praise God and thank God. But you know what? In most or in many of those situations, let's say, you don't know for sure. Because of our faith, because of our training, because of our studies, we look at our lives and see that when good has occurred, we attribute that to God. Because from what we know of God, through what he has revealed to us, he is the source of all that is good in the world. And that's a big statement. But he doesn't always sign his name when something happens. We see his hand and we say, that was God because he's good. But we can be sure, in a sense, as Christians, but it doesn't come, as I say, with a signed documentation or something like that. And that's, in a sense, the way that God works, because he wants us to have faith. Faith is the substance of that which is unseen. And so that's what one person suggested about the book of Esther. We see the hand of God, but it's not explicit, if you will. Anyway, think about that. It's a thought that I had not really come across before I read this particular commentary. So anyway.
I want to say that my mom had an accident, which Michelle know. My mom had an accident, and the doctor said she would not live through the first night because it was so severe, full life support, brain surgery, and all that. And my grandmother and I were there, and we totally believed we were going to get a miracle. We totally believed it.
Yeah.
So we just prayed for a miracle. I honestly believed it. I didn't have any doubts. My dad was a physician, and he's looking at the numbers, and they're giving me all the science. I'm like, yes, I hear all that. And I said to the doctors, I hear you. And I explained back to them what they said. I understand what you're saying. I said, I'm simply saying you're dealing in odds. My mother will be the 1 in a million. If the odds are 1 in a million, my mother will be that one. That's all I'm simply saying. And I actually said to them, so get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually said, they look at me like I'm kind of halfway crazy.
Yeah.
But my mom lived. My mom lived another 24 and a half years after that accident. Was in her right mind and all these other things. So some people say, oh, you got lucky. Was it luck? Was it just happenstance?
Love me. No.
Okay. Well, people attribute things maybe to like serendipity or it was coincidence. Some of those things, that's not what it is. It's providence.
Yeah.
It's providence and it's grace.
It's providence. That's the word that describes what's going on in Esther. Providence, the providence of God. In another sense, so we can view Esther as having been written to demonstrate the providence of God. In another sense, it's an unusual book in that it involves the creation of a feast, a Jewish feast that's not part of the Torah or the original teachings. The Feast of Purim, which endures down to this day of the Jews. So in a sense, the book of Esther provides the background for that feast. And so as the young are taught about God, this is the source of why they have that feast. Anyway.
Her means lot, and I am the editing is plural, so lots.
Yeah, the lot. We'll get to that in our questions. Is that all? I guess we better get into. Let's see. Okay, we talked last time about Vashti and that unusual name. She was the queen of Ahasuerus, the emperor there. And how did she make Ahasuerus angry?
He was giving the king was giving a feast for a lot of people of his kingdom, men, I assume all of them were.
Well, you never know.
But anyway, he had all this wealth and everything around, and then Vashti was giving a banquet for the women, it says. And so King Xerxes says here, he was in high spirits from the wine.
Yes.
He was drunk, and he decided to summon Vashti to come because she was very beautiful, and I think he wanted to show her off to all the other men, and I think rightly so, she didn't want to have any part of that. So she said, no, I won't come.
Yeah. By the way, these Persian banquets lasted a little while. We read in chapter 1, it's verse 5. The king gave a banquet lasting 7 days. So you can just imagine. Now he had 180 days where he was showing off his kingdom and his wealth and so on, kind of like a World's Fair. Remember when we had World's Fairs? They last about 6 months, or sometimes even longer than that. They don't have those anymore. I guess the internet and all that it offers has taken its
It
place.
was for the purpose of showing off your country, the
Yeah.
World's Fair.
Yeah, well, and the idea was all the countries could show up, but
Yeah.
anyway. So you think Vashti did the right thing? What do you think?
As a woman, I think she was
Okay.
right to say, I'm not something to be paraded in front of all these drunken men.
Okay, I think we'd say, yeah, that was the modest thing to do. We're not sure exactly what her motivation was. In fact, it's interesting to note that history suggests that this king Ahasuerus was succeeded by another king named Artaxerxes, and that the mother of this Artaxerxes was Vashti.
Okay.
So, I guess maybe that occurred before her banishment or whatever happened to her.
I read that there was no historical record of Esther.
Oh.
There was a typical.
Of Esther, yeah.
Yeah, that he was married to, he was married to a different queen. I don't think it was Vashti.
A man like that probably had a few.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, we don't have records of the complete. We don't have all these complete records from ancient history.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Jumping forward a little bit, when the Persian Empire ran into war with the Greek Empire, and actually the Persians outnumbered the Greeks, but they were defeated by the Greeks. And the story is that the Persian king gave up the battle and ran back to be with his harem. So anyway, but so perhaps she was modest. Some have suggested maybe she was with child at the time. We don't know, but she didn't want to show off at a drunken feast, but that led to some consequences. It led to her being replaced as queen. Why did Ahasuerus seek to replace Vashti as queen?
she embarrassed him. He was trying to show off in front of his friend.
What's that?
Yeah.
She embarrassed him.
She embarrassed him, and the advisors said, if she does this, other wives are not going to
Yeah.
be subject to their husbands. Other wives may stand up for themselves.
Can't have that.
And we can't have that, right? So anyway, we kind of chuckle at that nowadays, but
I mean, you
it
wonder,
was a big thing.
could it have met your head or something,
Yeah,
Well, later on, we learned that if someone came to see the king and the king hadn't called them or authorized
Yeah.
them, they could be killed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because that
quite.
was one instance of Esther's courage,
yeah,
that she did it. She went to the king without being called. So again, I mean, this could have ended up, it doesn't say that Vashti was killed. She was
No.
just replaced
As far as
as
we
the
know, yeah.
queen, so maybe.
Maybe she was brought back later, we don't know it. But it's, you talk about male superiority or whatever it is. This was the Persian Empire. So we get a little hint of that. So, but maybe Vashti's example led to something good. We don't know. We kind of, and reading about what transpired, we sometimes overlook this. What service of Mordecai was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king? And this had some influence on what was to come later.
Assassination attempt.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right, yeah. He didn't hear you, Mike.
What's that?
the assassination attempt, he said,
What's that?
I'm just repeating what he said.
Did what?
Assassination attempt.
Yes, there was a plot against the king. Again, I'd stop it. And Mordecai somehow became aware of it, and he reported it to the king. And so that's just kind of mentioned in passing, but then it's going to have an impact later on. So this Mordecai, we wish we knew more about him, but evidently he was a faithful servant there in the Persian Empire. As we'll see later in our study of the Old Testament, how Daniel and the others, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, were faithful servants in the Babylonian Empire and the Persian Empire. Anyway, so that's something to remember about Mordecai.
I didn't remember that he was a Benjamite. So how many of the tribe of Benjamin made it over to, we kind of think they kind of were swallowed up or whatever, right?
Well, they were more or less combined in with the tribe of Judah, as was one of the smaller tribes. If we remember the end of the book of Judges, the tribe of Benjamin was involved in a war with the other tribes and were reduced to 600 men. And they didn't have any wives, so they had to come up with some imaginative ideas for them to get wives. It wasn't exactly a courtship situation. They went out and grabbed women who were, anyway. So they were a much, not very numerous, although, anyway, we're going to meet another guy. Here's a fellow that we meet in the next question, Haman. He's the villain of the piece. Who was Haman? He's another Agagite, it says. Agagite. Who's Agag?
The king was spared by Saul.
Yes, remember when Saul was told to destroy the Amalekites, Saul did not do that. He kept the best of the animals and so on, said he was going to sacrifice them to God, But the king of the Amalekites, his name was Agag. And we don't know for sure that this Haman was a descendant or relative of that Agag, but it sounds suspicious, right? So because Agag was anyway. So it's interesting that it's mentioned that he was an Agagite in a couple of places. So anyway, but so he was another servant of the king, but he was against the Jewish people, and that's the plot in Esther that Haman wants to destroy the Jews. Not some of the Jews, not Mordecai or the Jews in the capital city there, Susa. He wants to kill all the Jews in the Persian Empire. Is he another Hitler? Sounds like. But what led to that situation?
Because Mordecai was bowed down to him,
Yeah,
just crying.
it seems to be a very personal thing. Mordecai kind of ignored Haman and didn't bow down to him like everybody else. And so he was mad. And perhaps, that's because Mordecai didn't want to bow down before anybody other than God. And the Jews have been known over the centuries for their separatism in whatever empire they lived in, and their perceived lack of respect for the emperor of Persia, the Tsar of Russia, or wherever they happened to be. And you know what? Christians sometimes have faced that same challenge because Christians don't acknowledge a Roman emperor or a Persian emperor or a Greek as a god. Christians look upon Jehovah as the only God. And so, that bothers the worldly people, that they're not the top guy. And it has led to persecution of Jews over the centuries and Christians also. So that's kind of what we find here. But in the case of Haman, it's a kind of a personal thing. And anyway, we could talk about anti-Semitism. And
Haman and Mordecai, and then Esther. Esther, Mordecai, God is working through these two people
right,
to deliver
that's right,
Israel.
that's right.
Why?
Esther,
He heard Esther's name, so somebody like Haman didn't know Esther. He didn't know Esther is a Jew. No, because it's hidden. Like the way God's name is hidden throughout the book of Esther, but they believe and then faith in Israelites know their God. That everything they are doing it toward God, deliverance, to deliver them from the hands of patients. But somebody like Haman, if God wants to do something, sometimes he make the people who are involved with those things, some of them will be the victim. If we are studying the book and we are studying up to this place, we see that he made some of them be a victim. Let's go back to Pharaoh. The book said, I hid in his heart. Why did God say I hid his heart? To do whatever he is doing. He became this thing. You see, for God existence to be known to the people. So somebody like Haman, normally, I have a younger brother called Haman.
Oh, you do?
I have a younger brother, family brother called Haman. He's in, Massachusetts. And he said somebody told him that you take a name Haman. So if I'm in Mordecai, are you going to fight me? They were. And then my younger brother was telling him that no, I take a name Haman. People don't like the name Haman. But I didn't know that if Haman didn't stand, Mordecai's name will not be progressed and people will not come out from the captivity. You see? So that is how it is. Sometimes God push the top people into that situation so that the least people will come out for his existence to be known to the people.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're told that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And in a sense, that's what's happening here to Haman. What about the king? Haman, what happens when Haman goes to the king and says, these guys are bad in your empire. You ought to get rid of them. What does Ahasuerus say, or Xerxes, depending upon which translation you have?
Well, part of what Haman said was that he would give some money to
Okay,
the king's treasury.
okay, well,
So that the king evidently listened to him, and it sounded he was just kind of indifferent
yeah,
to the fate of these people that Haman was telling him about. And he said, oh, well, keep your money, just here, I'll sign the decree to have all the Jewish people in the kingdom killed. I mean, did he even think about what he was doing? It just shows how
Smart guy.
it seemed like he was easily taken in by, because the same thing with Vashti, where he, I'm gonna do that, and then the officials told him, well, all the wives will rebel, so we'll get rid of it. He just kind of fell in with all these crazy schemes without thinking about it.
so as we
It's
look,
not that without thinking about it. We are seeing it that way, but that's how it's supposed to go. For the God's existence to come up. If Vashti didn't do such what he did,
okay,
who would be Esther?
She wouldn't have an opportunity, huh?
Yeah.
There would be Esther.
If Vashti had gone along with, there would be no reason for Esther's story.
Exactly.
yeah, that's right.
There would be.
She would never
Well,
have.
you see God's providence
Exactly.
behind these things,
Exactly.
but it just makes the king look like a fool.
Yeah, God works through dumb men.
Yeah, Esther went through a lot.
That's
To
human
be-
nature. People can be in a position of power, and how they got there doesn't have anything to do with their skill set or their merit. They just happen to be,
Yeah,
right there, and they're pushed into power, so, I
And
was,
those days too, women are not allowed to disobey their husband in any way. No matter how the situation is, still you have to obey your husband. But if the king is drunk or whatever, the order that the king has given, you don't need to what? Say that I will not do it. As a queen, you will not utter. You disgrace the king. You disgrace the king. So
Well, there's an authority higher than that, that's what Vashti was
Mhm.
thinking about. There was an authority higher than her husband telling her to degrade herself in front of all these men.
Wow.
That was the authority Vashti was using. Otherwise, she'd been killed,
So where is the authority?
huh?
Where is the authority? At
Where-
the end of the day,
Well,
where
she knew what it was, that's what I'm saying, that's why she knew. He was not the Lord, she understood that.
Vashti's a
But,
pagan, Vashti's not a Jew.
she's not a
No.
Jew.
No, but still, apparently she had enough common sense or something to not degrade herself like that.
It's just using through
Her disobedience or her. Yeah.
But Jacob, you make a good point. God's plan sometimes starts a long way before, we see what's going on. He's working sometimes through the generations
Yes.
to prepare someone for something that he has them to do. We didn't mention all of the preparation that Esther went through before she was chosen queen. At least 12 months of the so-called beauty treatments of the time. Probably worked with a dermatologist. As a dermatologist.
Good job, good job.
But what I was getting at with respect to Ahasuerus, here's the guy, he's the emperor of the Persians. The guy never says no. Haman comes to him with a plan. He says it. We'll see that Esther comes to him with a plan, with some requests. He never says no.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's weird. So how was the time for the pogrom chosen? And that's the word we use more currently for the persecution of the Jews in various cities, starting mainly with the country of Kiev and in Russia. Anyway, how was the time chosen? That's in chapter 3.
It says they cast lots.
They cast a lot.
Called the pur.
The Pur. And that's how the Feast of Purim got its name, because the persecution or destruction of the Jews was chosen just, through the dice or cast lots. And, that, of course, they were very superstitious people. And I was just, we were thinking of the Jews later on. There's mention of a name or of a number. Well, that's not the Jews. That's the other people who got destroyed. We'll talk about that later.
Lots, the idea of, I tried searching, lots, I don't know, okay, and nobody can really explain exactly how they did the lots.
Right.
Okay, they use dice.
Did they draw straws? That's what.
Lots is similar to lottery, our lottery.
Yeah.
Okay, not, not like yes or no. They use different, there are different ways they did lots, so it's not clear.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly what they used for lots and what their method was,
A lot of times where they choose by lot in the scriptures, we don't know how they did it.
But it's not voting. Some people think
Right.
that lots, it means balance, but there's no.
It's based upon their superstition that the false gods would, give a result that would be good for them. So anyway, we read then that Mordecai hears of the plot against the Jews, and he reveals this plot to Esther, who is the queen already. And so we get into chapter 4 of Esther. What was Esther's initial response to Mordecai's communication with regard to Haman's plot?
He was afraid.
Yeah, she's afraid, and that, she felt that she couldn't go to the king because of this goofy rule that they had, that if you went to the king before you were called, you could be executed unless he held out his scepter to you. But in a sense, her response is, that's not my job. I'm queen, I'm doing okay. And, the Jews, that's not my job. And maybe that's a response that we have to be careful about. When we're we can see, looking back at this through our eyes, that this was part of God's plan for. In fact, Mordecai says to her, who knows whether you have been put in this position for just this purpose. In this, the Hebrew version, we don't read about that being God's situation. But anyway, what do they do? She says, okay. Does she say okay immediately?
A lot of things.
So, no, she says, go gather all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maids will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is a sin against the law. And if I perish, I perish. So she's kind of convinced, yeah, I guess I better do something, but fast for me. So Mordecai went away and carried out all of Esther's instructions. And that's where we'll leave it for now. What I want to do next time is take a look, a little bit of a look at how this whole situation with Esther was framed when the translation into Greek occurred. We can agree that this is not necessarily the inspired word of God, but we'll look at what may have occurred. We did that once before when we looked at the prayer of Manasseh, which is mentioned in Scripture, but the text is not given. But it appears in the Greek version. But anyway, so we'll look forward to that. Some of those 107 verses that were
Bring us a
added
copy.
to Esther. It's very instructive.
Benton's English translation of Septuagint, you can find that online. Benton, Benton. Benton's English translation of the Septuagint is online. So you can.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to find. I have here the New English Bible translation of the Apocrypha, which includes that. Interestingly enough, this stuff appeared in the first edition of the King James Version of the Bible. But anyway.
Did you say, did you want a copy now?
No.
Okay.
I mean, next week, I thought you said bring it next time.
Yeah, we're out of time now. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for filling the room.
Yeah. How long will you be in Chicago? About 4-hour drive?
Yeah.
57?
So where are you guys from?
55. I don't know.
Decatur, Illinois.
Yeah, Decatur. You know what Decatur? Decatur?
Georgia or
No,
Illinois?
Illinois. They said Illinois.
Illinois.
It's not that far.
Oh.
He's completely clogged on this.
Decatur, Georgia.
Get rid of that one.
Oh, boy.
It was nice there.
So you have more family there or is church there? Sounds happy.
Yeah.
Great.
Good to see you back. Feeling good? Good.
Linda, how are you feeling?
Okay.
Well, you're here.
Yeah, I wanted to be.
Well,
You're going where?
No, I can say that I didn't miss.
I forgot my hair lace. I'm gonna go home and put them in.
You guys gonna be
We're in
here
the
for
back
this?